Hello, and welcome to Caffeine Entertainment. I am your host, Mental9R, and this is episode number four of the GMX Podcast. But it is only part one. Yes, that's right. There will be a part two. We split this week's video up into two pieces to make it a little easier to digest. So hopefully you're able to sit through the whole thing with us and enjoy the show. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining us. And if you enjoy the show, please don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button and maybe even a like on the way out. That would be greatly appreciated. If for some reason you don't like the show, don't be afraid to hit the thumbs down, but make sure you let us know why you didn't like it in the comments below. With all that out of the way, I'm going to bring on my longtime friend and co-host, Finn Tintin. Hey, Finn, my good friend. What are you laughing about now? Anyway, how's it going, buddy? How's it going?
I'm just laughing at the seamless start you had there.
Yes, the seamless transition. It's not like we just restarted this whole thing, is it? No, it's all good. But so how things going, man?
Yeah,
what you been up to?
Good. You know what? Like, I don't know, sound boring, but I've still been playing FC24. It's got me completely hooked. Line and sinker as well. I gotta break this habit. But they have these seasons, and it's in the middle of the Euros as well. But they have these seasons, so I'm watching the Euros. Then there's a break in the games. I'm playing my FIFA or FC24. Then there's another game that I've watched, and then more FC and. Depending on what happens in the games, some of the players get upgraded and stuff as well. It's all boring to you, I get it, but it's very addicting to me.
I think it's just kind of a bit disgusting, and it's time that we have an intervention. You know, we're going to have to step in and save you from yourself because
it's a problem.
You got to get away from it, man. Open up and start doing other things. Like you know, at the end of our other show there, you did say you'd probably play some more BioShock. Have you done that? I'm going to bet no. You know, me, I said I'll probably continue playing it till the end. I'm now almost 20 hours in. Still going, getting close to the end of that game. So, you're going to want to do that. Look at me. And that's on my Steam Deck. I've almost finished it on my Steam Deck. But anyway, other than that, I've been playing the game behind me, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Have you played any more of that since our last show about that game?
Not as much as I should have, but I have turned it on.
You have turned it on and just looked at it for a minute and went, oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, it's not as good as FC24.
Well, don't forget, we have a part 2 of that coming up in just over a week.
It's weighing heavily on my mind.
I'm sure it is. But I think I'm up to around level 9 or so on that now, as far as my character goes. Killed a couple more boss dudes, or at least one more that was chasing me. Another boss of some kind I killed, but yeah, it's moving along. Anyway, we got a few good topics, I think, lined up for today's show. And why don't we get started with that? I'll switch views so that we can actually show people what we're looking at for anyone that's actually watching. Hey, how you doing? Great to have you. Really appreciate you showing up to take a look. First topic of the day, we've got rumors of PlayStation finally getting around to building an emulator for PS3 games. I find this one rather exciting. If Nick Baker from Xbox era and if Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb are correct, I can't believe personally that it has taken PlayStation this long to actually, even if the rumors are true, let's say build an emulator, when you consider like there's been emulators for PlayStation 3 on PC for a decade. And they work fine. Like, there's been no issues. So I really expected there to be one for the PS4, to be honest. And, you know, it never came. And I thought, well, with PS5, they'll have it. And it never came. And, you know, to have this finally maybe just possibly make an appearance, I think is great news for PlayStation fans. I mean, I've got several PS3 games that it would be great to be able to throw the disc into my PS5 and just have it work the same way it does with Xbox and 360 games on my Series X. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think I actually like my mind as I age. My mind, it's the past. It starts getting all muddled up in my mind. to be honest, I find it hard to remember what games were in PS3 and what have already been made. And there's another topic we'll talk about later, maybe in our episode or part two, maybe. And so many of the good games have been remade as well. I like the idea, and I've got
I was going to say that the reason you struggle with what generation they're from is because remaster station, right? Like they just keep remastering. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But I'd have to see what I'd actually play on it. One thing is true though, like beside, and I understand we have a whole separate podcast to look at like what games either we really should have played or we would really love to play, or one of us has played and the other one hasn't and whatnot. But like the problem with emulators for me, it's not a problem per se, but the downside, I guess, is that old games typically don't get better like with age, so that's the only thing. And as well, especially if it's emulating the old technology, it's not like it's getting a facelift or whatever. It's just basically the same game. But I would definitely pick it up. Like the PlayStation has just got such a vast catalog of games that I'm sure there would be an opportunity for Sony to make a quick buck, which I think you and I both know they're not against, right?
Yeah, well, I think with part of me, I always think, the dark side, right? The making of a quick buck. I always kind of thought there's probably a reason they haven't made an emulator. I mean, the simple fact is, like I said, they've been out on PC forever. And it's just kind of hard to believe that Sony's software developers / engineers, whatever you want to call them, were incapable of making an emulator that would work. That just seems so incredibly hard to believe. But the only way you could play PlayStation 3 games was via their cloud streaming service. And, that's a monthly sub, right? And you had to pay for it. So that's where I thought, the greed factor comes in. And they're like, well, we got enough people that want to play these games. Let's make them do it this way. Let's not let them go to the store, buy a used copy for $10 and have it forever.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'm right on that, I don't know. But, given their love of remastering and redoing, and it wouldn't surprise me if they like the permanent rental attitude or situation that they had, right?
Yeah, like I think again we'll be talking about a related topic later on. I think people like PlayStation or Sony and even Microsoft to a lesser extent, but I also think it's true. It's gotten to a point like where you really feel like you don't own the games anymore. Like you're just kind of like renting them off them, sometimes indefinitely, but you're still renting it off them. And I guess having an emulator and people are playing physical discs again kind of detracts from that if that's the overall strategy. And even in the business world, you and I have both seen that people don't want to give you their software anymore. They want you to rent it off them so that you never really own it,
Yeah, perpetual licensing is just going the way of the dodo. And you're not wrong on that front, and you're bringing out the PCMR in me, where I say that if you really want to own your games, you got to get them on PC, and that's the only place. Like if you buy games from good old games like GOG Galaxy, then you're actually buying a game with no DRM, and you own the game. You don't need a launcher to play it. You can just burn it onto a disk and copy it back to your hard drive, and it works.
Yeah, I guess
it's.
The thing, like, I find it disgusting, honestly, the way they do that sometimes. But on the flip side of it, I'm like, how much does it really affect me? I mean, I buy so many games electronically now these days. I can't remember the last physical game I bought. So it's not like I object with morally, I guess, but in reality, it doesn't actually impact me. I just don't like the way they do it, I mean, I guess the closest, and again, just to bring up the FIFA topic, the closest I get to it is that you buy a game, FIFA, and you think, okay, why can't they keep a couple of servers running online? There can't be that many people playing it. You bought the game, you expect to be able to play it online, play it against other people who also like this version of it, and they just stop you from being able to do that. It's like, well, I still bought it. Like, I should still be able to use it, right? And when you buy the game, part of the deal is that you can play against people online, and if they take that away, well, I don't know. It's disturbing, but I don't know. It's just really the way things are going. And
That's the problem I have with live service games in general, I think. And, we can maybe touch on this in the next topic. But when I think of Redfall and some of the stuff that went on there, but, there's so many single player games now that still require an internet connection.
Mhm.
Why? I think
Yeah.
that's completely scummy, and that should never be a thing. And, people, oh, no big deal. I mean, everybody's online anyway. Sure, until your internet goes down and then you can't play that game. Or until
Yeah.
they shut down the servers that are doing whatever authentication that's required.
Yeah.
I've kind of lost, I don't know, I've lost the taste for anything that's live service as a result of that, because, you realize that unless it's free to play and you're really just so disciplined, you'll never spend money in their little, like, microtransaction storefronts and everything. If you're super disciplined, I guess it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But, I got kids. My kids are playing free-to-play games, and they're nagging me constantly. Daddy, can I buy this? Can I buy that? I want to get this thing. I want to get that thing. And I'm like, no, because, then you feel like a jerk. But it's only $5. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? That $5 is gone the day they shut it off. Right? And trying to explain that to them.
I had the same conversation, and it isn't even that it's $5. It's, to me, it's a bit like the first day you do crack cocaine first thing in the morning. Like, yeah, that's a once off. but you're
okay. You're doing things that I'm not. Just for the record here, that's not something that's ever
you're
happened
opening
over
the door, right? Like, you're allowing yourself that is a thing you can now do. So, to me, with my kid, it's like, no, you don't. If you want to buy a game, I will support you in that. If you want to buy a physical game, even better. But buying made up shit within the game, no, we don't do that, because I think it blurs the line of real and fake possessions too much.
No, I mean,
yeah.
I think
I think it's important for kids to understand the value of money, I guess, and like that this isn't just, you don't just throw away. And I think as well with kids who have less self-control than most adults, like, you see these horror stories of people getting a bill from Sony or from Xbox or whatever, of like $10 squillion because the kid kept on buying whatever FIFA packs or whatever the hell it was, just buying one after the other because it had a credit card in the account or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that I think you need to appreciate, that this is real money you're spending, and I don't think kids really get that.
No, I don't think they do either, and I'm trying my best with mine to explain it to them. And I mean, I'm guilty of it with Halo Infinite in the multiplayer. I bought some of the skins because all the armor that you get in the game is kind of ugly. It's all scratched up. Some of those ones you can buy, they're nice and shiny. Like, wow, they look way better, right? So, I mean, I've spent money there that, in hindsight, I wouldn't mind having some of that back, to be honest, but no big deal, I guess. For the amount of enjoyment I've had out of that game, I don't mind spending a little bit on it when it's free to play. Support the devs, right? Sony guys, support the devs. That's what I'm doing. But, microtransactions in general, I think, are a horrible trap. And I'm happy to say I haven't spent any money on anything in Halo Infinite in, over a year now. So, maybe that speaks to the stuff they're putting in there in the armor now, or that maybe it's just not as nice. I don't know. But they've also improved a lot of it too, where it's interchangeable and it never used to be.
It goes back to something I said about Assassin's Creed last week, that I don't like to buy a game and then feel like you're not getting the whole game. If I paid my money, I should get everything. Like, one of the earlier examples was in Starfield. And again, this wasn't such a big deal because it wasn't fundamental to the game, whereas I think for some of the Assassin's Creed games, it is kind of more get better weapons or but like, it was the skins as well for some of the weapons. There's no way to get skins in the game in Starfield. As far as I'm aware, there's no opportunity to get a single different skin for your weapons. But if you spend money, you can change the look of your weapons, which I find like, why do you have to do that? It really can't be that difficult for you to put a different color on a gun or something like that. It's just a way to screw people over, honestly.
Yeah. No, I'm going to try and pull us back on topic, 'cause as we've been talking here, I just realized we're way off topic. We're not talking about the PS3 emulation anymore. We've gone on to something completely different, but I'll take part of the blame for that, just because, I made the comments about Remaster Station. I think that's where it started going off on a tangent. But going back to the actual topic, what are your thoughts overall on this PS3 emulator? I mean, like I say, I think it's a great thing.
I think it's a good thing.
Long overdue.
I think it's a good thing. I'd have to go back. It will encourage me to go back to my PS3 catalog, of which I have a vast amount, and see what I have there. Because right now, nothing is jumping to mind as to something. I would love to play that again. But again, as I say, I don't think games get better with age in general.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll wrap that topic, and we'll move on to the next one, which is Xbox, or Microsoft, quietly refunding all the players who purchased the expansion pack, or the ultimate version. I forget what it's called. Bite Back version, I think is what it was called, of Redfall. Part of that purchase included an expansion or DLC that never actually happened because they shuttered Arcane Austin before it actually got completed. Now, the one thing I was going to mention about that Arcane Austin was also in the process, and I think we talked about this in one of our other podcasts, but they were in the process of also removing that always online aspect for the single player game for this. And that was also halted, but at least Microsoft has gone back and said, no, we're going to finish that, get it released to players to have that functionality in the game, so that if they pull the servers offline, you'll at least be able to play the game, which I think is good. What do you think about these refunds? I mean, no fanfare. They're just apparently slide them into people's Xbox accounts, I guess.
I think kudos to Xbox for doing this.
I guess it's kind of expected. I don't know. They're doing it on Steam and Epic. Wherever the game was bought, everybody's getting their refunds.
In a way, I feel, maybe this is a step too far. I don't think Redfall sold that well. I'd be tempted, if I was Xbox, to give it, anyone who bought that game ever just gets their money back. Because even when you buy a game, and if you didn't buy, let's say, the fancy schmancy version of it with all the extra DLC coming, you still have an expectation it's going to be around. You were told it was going to get updates. You were told it was going to get DLC. So you may have bought that in the future. So I can't help but think that even if you just bought the standalone game, you probably feel a little bit shortchanged if you paid full price for it.
Yeah. And, it's funny you say that, because that thought crossed my mind too, that just give people the option to get their money back entirely, and cancel a license for their game if you have to, if it's digital. I think it was digital only. I don't think there was any retail copies of it, but revoke the license but give them the option to just get their full purchase back. And the game's in Game Pass anyway. If they have Game Pass and they still want to play it, they can do it there. If it was me, I would probably feel like, just give me my money back.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if they gave him that, as you say, that option, say, hey, this game is in Game Pass. If you can retain your license to own the game if you want, or you can play it on Game Pass, but be aware and get your refund, but be aware if it does leave Game Pass, you won't be able to play it anymore. I think that would be very, very fair. It would be very noble of Microsoft.
Yeah, I think so. It's the game was definitely not well received at launch, and it has improved a lot. Like I played it a little bit at launch, and it was pretty rough around the edges. The 30 FPS on console didn't help for a first-person shooter, and I have played a little bit of it since they have patched everything up and the performance mode came out. It's a way better game to play. The vampires no longer go into this like nowhere zone where they don't do anything and you can just walk up to them and shoot them and do whatever, kill them and they don't move. That stuff seems to all be fixed, and it made the game like at least feel proper as a game should. And the 60 FPS is a huge improvement, but just another example of a game that was released when it just probably shouldn't have been. You know, if they would have just held on to it for 6 months and got that performance mode ready to go, it would have made such a big difference in the way that game was received.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, give them their money back, Xbox. That's what I say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't really have anything more to say on it, but I think that option should be there just for a full refund, personally. But okay, well, let's move on to the next topic. This is one that you had brought to my attention. I guess there's a fairly large retailer in the UK called Game, and there was some rumors that they were going to stop selling physical discs, and they said they will not stop selling physical discs. So, or at least they're denying the reports that were saying they were going to. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think the story is more in the, I guess, the context, or what it alludes to, that the physical game market is slowly dying. It's something that, as I said, I don't buy physical games, and even if they're saying they're denying it now, I think there's no smoke without fire in some of these kind of some of these stories, and probably it was at least a discussion. Should we stop doing this? Should we focus more on the paraphernalia that goes with games? Maybe some other game related stuff like controllers, consoles, etc., versus the physical games themselves. So they're not doing it now, but my expectation is that physical games are going to go the way of vinyl in the future. And I don't mean vinyl as like when it was replaced by CDs. I mean vinyl as it is today, where it's like aficionados who really want to own the physical copy and really have an invested value expectation in that. They will go out and buy physical games, but it's going to become more of a niche thing. And most people, and it's probably already the case, I haven't looked at the numbers or anything, but I imagine most people already buy their games electronically. And
I think on Xbox, it's like 85% of their sales are digital.
Yeah, that sounds
PlayStation not as high, but Xbox is up around there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had thought. I thought about 80-20 perhaps. But yeah, I think in the future, you'll see more and more game stores that are specializing in stuff around games. And then you'll have a couple of, like you mentioned one before, I think I saw a video about the same place as well, where people who specialize in older systems like the Super Nintendo and Dreamcast or whatever else it is, and they will also have some physical games for new machines or new consoles. But I just think that it doesn't make sense for the game manufacturers to sell physical games when you can deliver them electronically, and they can screw you over by just turning it off for you. But as well, they don't have to worry about transportation or distribution or paying the store. Like it's such a much better deal to them. And I remember early on, I can't remember if this was PS3. But like along the lines of what you said before around you have to be online to play it. That was a thing before, when there was, I think it was PS3, maybe it was Xbox, I can't remember now. But like when they were launching a console, they were like, "Oh, you always have to be online," and there was uproar against about it, and they backed down. But then they've just been doing it step by step anyway, right? Like they didn't have this hard stop that they once presented, but really, like the more and more we see games servers are being turned off, the more and more stuff is being switched off, and you don't have any recompense. I mean, I still play some older games. I was playing Metal Gear Solid, The Phantom Pain, for years and years after it had been released. And they could just turn that off. That's not cool. But I do think it's the way things are going.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it is the way it's going. And it's like you say, there's a lot of upside to the Microsofts and Sonys and Nintendos of the world to do it that way, because if you're a bad boy, they can just revoke all your access to all your games, just the way Steam could now. You lose your Steam account, all your games go with it. You lose your Epic account, your EA Play, your Ubisoft. The only one, mentioned them before, GOG Galaxy, is the only one where you just don't need an account. You don't
Yeah.
need a launcher. They're completely DRM free. So those are the only games you truly own. Now, the only other thing I could say about Steam games and stuff, if you did lose your Steam account, there's ways to make those games work anyway in the PC world. But in the console world, you're basically out of luck,
Yeah.
and that's not great for the gamer because doesn't always mean just that. How can I say this nicely? Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, just because they decide that your account needs to be banned doesn't mean it's justified.
Yeah.
There's situations that come up that could be completely not your fault or whatever, and you lose an account that has 1,000 games tied to it. That's a massive investment, and there's usually no way to actually dispute that either.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
I think
silly.
I think the game manufacturers and the console makers, they rely on the, sorry to say, but almost the laziness of the game community to do anything about it. Like, so that when whatever Assassin's Creed Origins or Assassin's Creed Odyssey no longer works, people say, okay, let's vote with our wallets and not buy the next Assassin's Creed. But people don't do that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess an important piece of my intro on this topic that I missed was these rumors all came after they were halting the trade-ins of pre-owned games earlier this month. So that's why I think the rumors got started. It sounds like they're a bit in trouble too, much like the GameStops of the world out in North America. Let's face it, physical copies of games is slowly going away, and it's too bad. I'm a little bit nostalgic for it. It's funny because most of the games I buy, they're digital, right? I mean, PC, 100% digital. It has been that way. I think the last physical game I bought was Half-Life 2. And that was
let's go back
the license to play. It's the license to play the game, and you had to download the whole thing anyway. Right? Which is a lot of the knock on what's happening to a lot of physical discs now. It's literally the license to play that game, and you're downloading the actual contents off the internet, which I find crazy too.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on it. Like, we've lost something for sure. But in a way, every time I pass my GameStop, I'm like, geez, those guys are still going. Like, I'm always a bit surprised, like, because
maybe.
Yeah,
I was gonna just say, like, my kids love, on the weekend or something, and we don't do it every weekend, but we'll head out to Just for Fun and we'll stop by GameStop and we kind of make the rounds and we look for used games and stuff, older discs and stuff, and pick up the odd one here and there, and it makes my kids happy, and I enjoy doing it too. It's kind of a fun little outing with the family, and although my wife's not really into it, but we go out, and it's the thing I do with my kids, and it's fun. I usually spend too much money, but that aside, I'm slowly building or rebuilding some of my lost Xbox 360 library that I had, where I sold off a bunch of the discs when I sold older Xbox 360s that I had. And it always makes it look a little bit better when you're advertising a used console if you're including some games. So a lot of the ones that I had, I just sold them and replaced them with digital copies, and now I'm like, I kind of miss having those discs. It's kind of weird, but I've picked up quite a few lately.
I do agree, Like, I mean, although I wasn't a kid when I was doing this, so I was probably 30. But I enjoy going to the GameStops and flipping through the used titles, and bringing back my title that I didn't like anymore and getting another one in replacement. I thought that was a good time, like looking and see what they had and finding a bargain or whatever. It's always a bit of a thrill. But if you look at it isn't just games. It's like whatever. I can't try to remember now. I'm thinking of Golden Disc, which was an Irish retailer, but like the Tower Records and all these guys, they're gone the way of the dodo as well. Like, people just aren't buying physical stuff anymore.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So I don't know. I still like picking up discs on Blu-ray. for movies and junk. There's just something about the quality when you watch it off a disc compared to just streaming it.
I actually had that experience just the other day. I watched John Wick 4, and I watched a real version of it, like on Blu-ray, and I'm like, whoa, the picture. So I've got a nice TV. The picture was so
you
good.
got mine's junk.
Yeah. You said it, dude. But yeah, like I was quite astonished because I'm looking at Netflix and stuff, and I'm not thinking, oh, the picture isn't good. But when I saw the real thing, I was like, whoa, that is a hell of a lot better than what I'm used to.
Was it a 4K Blu-ray or a
4K?
Yeah, there's something to be said for it, and I don't know. People have got used to good enough with the Netflix stuff, but when you actually see the much higher bit rate 4K version off a disc, it's substantially better.
Funny story, but I was surprised at this. So I set up after having owned it for many years, but I set up my 7.2 stereo system in my basement, and I was like, okay,
7.2. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But not like your 3.5. I set it up, and I was actually, my expectation, and I hadn't researched it in fairness, my expectation was that Netflix and Apple TV and Disney were all doing, none of them were doing it. None of them.
Yeah.
It was actually, oh shit. That was a rude awakening. So I guess looking at the fact that how they toned down the audio, it's like, I'm not surprised. Again, the movie I was watching was John Wick 4. I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not, but there was scenes, and a lot of it was in, I think it was in Paris or France, and there was cobblestone streets, and the light reflecting on the cobblestones. It was so crisp and clear. I was like, whoa, that is such a good picture.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. But why don't we maybe wrap it at this point? We'll split this episode into two. We'll do this part 1, and then we'll cover the other 3 topics in part 2. If you're good with that, we can wrap it up here. All right, cool. Yeah, we're half hour in. So thanks for joining us for episode 1 of GMX Podcast episode 4, I guess. Part 1? Yeah, we'll go with that.
Part
1. Yeah, part A, sure, whatever. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you've watched it this long, do you want to do your outro first? Yeah, maybe we'll do the full outro thing. Go for it. Just tell them where they can reach you, Finn. We're on the ball with this. This is good.
Rolling. We're cooking with gas here. It's Fin1010, as you see there, on Twitter, and of course Fin1010 and Fin1010 on Xbox and on PlayStation.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That's pretty straightforward. I am Mental9R on Xbox, PlayStation, PC on Steam, and yeah, pretty much everywhere, except for here where it's Caffeine Entertainment, where you're watching right now. If you did like the show, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell so that you don't miss future episodes. I mean, hey, there's a part 2 coming. Don't miss it. And if you didn't like the show for some reason, or we're doing something you don't like, let us know. Just hit the down button there, or the down thumb thing, and do that, and then leave a comment so we know why you didn't like it, so that we can try to make it better next time. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching part 1 of the GMS Podcast episode 4.